Hare Krishna. Welcome to ISKCON of North America Vaishnavi Ministries interview series. This series is titled Bond of Love, Srila Prabhupada and His Daughters. Today I have the honor and good fortune of speaking with Her Grace Sukhavaha Devi Dasi. Hare Krishna. Welcome, Sukhavaha Devi Dasi Mataji. Born and raised as a Protestant minister's daughter, Sukhavaha graduated with a bachelor's in social welfare from Penn State University in 1974. In 1975, at age 21, she accepted initiation from her guru, Srila Prabhupada. She was ordained as an Interfaith Minister in January 1992. With decades of training in various healing and coaching modalities, she empowers spiritual seekers to address their buried emotions in order to assist in their relationships and spiritual development. She leads workshops on compassionate communication, emotional healing, and relationships, as well as engaging in one on one sessions. Dedicated to showing the profound yet simple power of emotional maturity, of choosing words carefully, she has authored 4 books. We'll share the details of these 4 books later in the interview. She's currently a chaplain and a course facilitator with Karuna Care. She's a mother of 3 and a grandmother of 3 and lives in New Vrindavan, West Virginia, in a house that was personally built by her children and her. Welcome, Sukhavaha Prabhu. So glad to have you here today.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Grateful to be here.
I can't wait to hear about Srila Prabhupada from his daughters. The ISKCON of North America Vaishnavi Ministry has been conducting a series of these interviews so that we have them for now and for later generations to come. So this is very, very valuable for us. So if I can start our interview by asking you, what about Srila Prabhupada convinced you that you should dedicate your life to him even now after so many years?
Well, actually, I didn't meet Srila Prabhupada when I came in contact with him. I came in contact with him by not receiving, by being shown a book when I was 18 in the college dorm at Penn State from a friend who was not a devotee.
Mm.
And he just showed me this book, and I paged through it, and I just saw this one picture of many heads and arms and legs, and I was a hippie, and so I was like, wow, that's really far out. And then I just read a couple of verses, and immediately I said, where did you get this book? I need to get this book. This is what I've been looking for. Now, being a Protestant minister's daughter, I was aware of God. I knew there was a God. And yet I had some difficulties with the tradition, the Christian tradition. There were things that I couldn't jive with. And so that when I got this book and I just read a few verses, I was like, this is what I've been looking for. So I went out and bought 5 copies, and I gave them to everybody in my family for Christmas, and I kept one, and I hadn't even read it yet. And I didn't know that Prabhupada was alive. I just thought it was some saint that had written this book. And as I read the book, what really struck my heart was Prabhupada kept referring to Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. And I'm like, wow, God has a personality. That's really interesting. God has a personality. It really makes it so much more personal than God or even Krishna as a person, but he has a personality, the Supreme Personality. And that just kept like drawing me in and drawing me in and drawing me in. And I was like, I gotta learn about this Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so I read that book, and I didn't even really meet devotees until 1974. So I didn't really know that there was an ISKCON or a movement, or that Prabhupada was alive and was giving initiations. I did read that about taking a spiritual master, but I didn't know that he was alive. He was the spiritual master. I didn't understand all of that. But he became my spiritual master when I got that book, first of all, because it just opened up my life to a brand new life. And so, so in reading that book, I had been searching for my purpose in life. As a 13-year-old, the Vietnam War was going on, and why are people fighting? Why is there so much hate in the world? What is this life about? And, what's the purpose of life? To get a job and go to college and get a job and get married. And there's got to be more to life than that, because I can see that there's not too many people that are happy. There's poor people, there's war. What's the purpose of life? And so when I got the Bhagavad Gita, as it is, by Prabhupada, I was like, oh, this makes sense. This is the purpose of life. And it was my Bible. I carried it around with me in college and I read it. It was really hard for me to I didn't even make it all the way through it, because I had no devotee, no one explaining anything to me. I was just trying to grasp the enormity of it. However, so much of it just kept ringing true inside of me. And this is the power of Prabhupada's, the power of Prabhupada's desire and love to share Krishna consciousness. And it came through his books very powerfully and touched my heart. And that's the Bhagavad Gita has been the Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita has been the foundation of my life and my spirituality. Yeah.
Jai. We hear, even if one page survives, this is potent. Like, we hear from you.
Yeah, it's we don't realize the potency, and that's why Prabhupada wanted to get his books printed, because the potency of the written word, can come through, and he came through loud and clear.
Yeah.
And you hear that from other people, just reading Prabhupada's books, it comes through. His whole energy comes through. Yeah.
Wonderful. So, now that you're in Prabhupada's family,
Yes.
what did you feel when you were in Srila Prabhupada's presence?
Well, I didn't see Prabhupada very many times at all. And by the time I came in 1974, and I didn't see him until 1975, by that time there were so many thousands of disciples and gurus and temple presidents, all men. So I was in the background. However, the first time I saw him was at the Philadelphia Rath Yatra, and there was like a couple hundred devotees. I don't even know where we slept, but we were all staying at the temple there, and Prabhupada was there. And I remember Prabhupada was staying upstairs, and there were stairs that came down to the front door. And there was like a hallway there. So there was a hallway, the stairs were coming down, and then the other half of the hallway went back to the kitchen. But the front hallway right before the front door was double wide, because it was the stairs wide and the hallway wide. And we were making garlands for the Jagannath Rath Yatra cart. And I don't know whose idea it was, but me and two other devotee women thought, that we'd like to see Prabhupada. And so we thought, well, let's just make the garlands here in the corner of this hallway here, not in front of the door, but to the side of the door. And if Prabhupada happens to come down the steps, we might happen to see him. And so we were making garlands, and he did come down the steps. I don't remember him coming down the steps, but he stopped and he paused and he said, Hari Bol. And so we got something. And so that was that experience in being in the presence of Prabhupada was like exciting and just, touched that he stopped and acknowledged us. He wasn't a big, important man that was too busy with big things to stop and say Hari Bol to a few young girls that were just making garlands. So that was one experience, being in his presence. I mean, it was hard for me to feel his presence when there's a million devotees in front of you and between you and Prabhupada, as it was in the classes and even at the Rath Yatra, like just so far away from Prabhupada. It was hard for me to feel his presence, but I felt his presence in that moment. And also a time when he came to New Vrindavan and he walked, the devotees lined the path. And so he like walked in front of us. And at that point, because I was standing, I noticed just how he held himself so, we use the word humble, but I'd like to use the word naturally and unassumingly. Not like I'm a big man, I'm a guru. He just walked with his hands folded, very unassuming, very humbly, very graciously, gracefully. And I was touched because I'm short. And so I noticed, oh, he's short. I thought he appears when he speaks and when he sits on the Vyasasana like such a huge man, and when he writes, but he was actually short. And I was like, oh, well, that's very interesting that he's so short physically, because he comes across so big. And so in that moment, I just felt touched and amazed and touched. And then I think it was that same day, I did get a cookie from his hand, but I think I was probably a little nervous. So sometimes maybe feeling nervous in his presence, or what to do and how to be able to be with him. But so those were my three feelings, really touched and amazed and a little nervous on my side, like So those were pretty much all of my experiences with my personal contact with Prabhupada.
Thank you for sharing those sweet memories with us.
Yeah.
So we have a comment, Shyama Mohini Dasi. She says, Hare Krishna, thank you, Sukhavaha Prabhu, for your caring disposition.
Thanks, Shyama Mohini.
You shared so many transcendental qualities of Srila Prabhupada just in that few memories of yours.
Uh-huh.
I was wondering if you could share some specific things that you're grateful to Srila Prabhupada for.
Okay. Well, I'm grateful that Srila Prabhupada had the courage and the dependence on Krishna to come across the ocean by himself with nothing. That is huge. That is, and it's even huger than we can even realize, because, he did travel some, but he never traveled on a cargo ship boat, and he never traveled not knowing exactly what he was going to do or where he was going to exactly go, and he had no experience of what he wanted to create. That took huge courage and dependence on Krishna. And we read in many of the stories how Prabhupada prepared himself. He was praying and crying to Rupa Goswami and the six Goswamis, and in the Radha Damodar temple, and, preparing himself like for this huge step of courage. So that, well, and the question was,
What are you grateful
again,
for, Prabhupada, for?
what am I grateful for? Okay, yes, thanks, because I was thinking of the other question. Um, Also grateful for him to create this movement. That's another huge step, but he created something out of nothing. He literally had nothing, and he created this huge organization out of nothing. And I'm so grateful because it's a place where like-minded persons can come together, where we can have, specialized association, where we can have shelter in temples, and we have deities of Krishna to look at and worship and pray to. I mean, he really gave us a huge support system, at least the foundation of a support system uh, for our spiritual life. And I'm grateful that Prabhupada was involved in every detail of the creation of the movement. He really took it as his life and soul, like creating this movement was his baby. He created a brand new entity, and yeah, just so amazing. And because of that, now we're here together. The ripple effects of what he created are still going on. Yeah. So, and I'm grateful for Prabhupada's personalism. This kind of runs into the next question, but I'm grateful for his personalism. And it shows in the words that he used in the Bhagavad Gita, the supreme personality of Godhead. And he was very personal. He stopped and said Hari Bol to three little young girls sitting there. He was very present and personal and thoughtful. So I'm grateful for his personalism, and that was part of his pranam. That is part of his pranam prayers, to create personalism in the world. Because coming from India, he was well aware of impersonalism, and in America, impersonal loka, we didn't even know what personalism meant. And so, him bringing even the concept, I'm still working on becoming personal. I'm a recovering impersonalist, but him, being a personalist and introducing us to the personhood Krishna. And, it's huge. It's huge. It's like, I don't know. I'm just very grateful for that personal connection like that. Yeah. And I don't want to say too much more because that's the next question. So
I like the phrase recovering impersonalists. So here we are, all of us are, and Prabhupada is single-handedly, like you said, something great out of nothing. Yeah,
something great, something amazing
yeah,
at nothing, except a desire. And we'll go on to that in the next
Yeah. I was
question.
I was
Go ahead.
thinking this aspect of personalism, it's almost like, yeah, and then, but it's so unique in what he's brought for us. And so I was going to ask you, how did you observe Srila Prabhupada adjust to time, place, and circumstance in dealing with both devotees as well as non-devotees?
Well, I didn't personally observe a lot. Like I said, I didn't have a lot of personal contact with him. However, I'm well aware from the stories of other God brothers and God sisters that he completely considered a person's situations. And that's why people who received letters from Prabhupada, he gave them personal instructions. Now, we're not just meaning personal from person to person,
Mm,
but personal in regards to time, place, and circumstance.
mm,
He instructed them according to who they were, where they were, what was going on in their life, what they needed, what he knew that they could do and that they couldn't do. So, personal on two levels.
mm,
Um, he, and if someone approached him and said, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this service, he accepted that. And he thought of something else that they might be able to do. He wasn't like, I am the guru, do what I say. He didn't have that energy. I mean, not that he never manifested that energy, like, let's get these books done.
mhm,
However, it wasn't like it was not a shaming energy.
mm,
It was always an encouraging energy. Okay, this isn't working for you. You can't do this. Okay, so then what can you do? And he even wrote it. It's even in the Bhagavad Gita. If you can't do this, do this. If you can't do that, do that. And he always would bring it to a place where a person could engage and could do something rather than making them feel like, okay, you don't really measure up. And, and then they would go away. And even if someone had a quote unquote fall down,
mm,
and when if a devotee would talk about that person and shame them, Prabhupada became very angry. He said, now that person will never want to never want to come back. You know, so and there's more qualities there too. He was also very truthful.
mm,
He was truthful. He would speak the truth, and he would adjust. Like some people, he might get a little heavier with, and some people he would be more gentle with because he could read people. He was a personalist. Treated people personally according to what they could and couldn't receive.
mm,
Yeah. And he knew that generally by experience with different people, or, just by so many devotees, you know, recognized that it was almost like Prabhupada was reading their minds.
yeah.
He connected on multiple levels, not just with words, but with
Mm,
his actions. And um, he could connect with where devotees were at and really support them and encourage them where they were, not put them down because they weren't what others might think they should be, like that. I don't know. Is that
no, wonderful. So you're saying that dealing with others based on time, place, and circumstance is because of his personalism.
that is personalism.
That is
That's
personalism,
personalism. Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
not the cookie cutter, not putting people in boxes, not shaming them. All of that is personalism. I love that.
Not the clone.
Yes. Uh, you've brought about so many qualities of Srila Prabhupada. You initially talked about the courage, you talked about dependence on Krishna, then you spoke about personalism, you spoke about truthfulness of Srila Prabhupada. Uh, so you've spoken about so many things, but I'm sure, he's an ocean of transcendental qualities. Are there a few other things would you like to share, like few other favorite qualities of Srila Prabhupada?
Yeah, well, I think the all-encompassing quality, which then we break it down into other parts.
Mm-hmm.
The all-encompassing quality, and I wrote about this in my Vyas Puj this year. My Vyas Puj was, what made you so perfect, Srila Prabhupada? What made you so perfect? And then I asked a couple of questions. But really, what made him so perfect was his unconditional, unwavering, personal, loving, and love and compassion. His love infused everything he did. He came to America out of love and compassion for all the souls that didn't know about Krishna. He came out of love for his Guru Maharaj and the mission. He didn't come because he wanted to. He didn't come because it was a good thing to do or it was going to get him anything. He came out of love, and he exhibited that love, which people who disciples who have had more personal interaction with Prabhupada, they felt that love very deeply, that personalism very deeply. Love infused everything he did, everything. And so, and that's not a quality that's imitatable. You can't, I don't even know if that's a word, but you can't imitate love. You can't imitate love. Love is something that generates from a heart that's full of love. And he was full of love. And so he had much love to give and share. And that love, touched our hearts. It moved us. It's what has kept us in the movement. It moved us into the movement. And it continues to inspire and move us. And he exhibited this love through being personal, through time, place, and circumstance, understanding where a devotee's at and giving instructions accordingly. He expressed this love by always encouraging the devotees. He always wanted to just encourage the devotees because he knew what he was asking was a big shift in consciousness. Like from hippies to happies. Yes, it was a big shift. So he was always encouraging. And I have to talk about more than one quality, but this is all his love. But under the umbrella of love, there's many, many parts of it. He was also, when you say time, place, and circumstance, he was a very practical person, very practical, down to earth, not just up in his head and up in the philosophy and the theory. If someone came in front of him and, they were, going through something, he was on the ground with something very practical. I just remember a story. Jamuna told me once that, she was in India and all the devotees were getting sick. And Prabhupada would say, take care of the devotees. Like he would tell her, take care of the devotees. They're all getting sick. He had that caring, loving compassion. He just wasn't like, work until you drop. He wouldn't have kept very many people in the movement had he not had that love. It was his love that moved us. And again, he in that love, he had integrity. So that integrity was down to the finest detail of how he kept his financial records to the penny, right?
Mm.
And his deepest integrity was that he walked his talk.
Mm.
So he didn't just speak and expect people to follow. He modeled what he spoke. He lived what he spoke.
Mm.
He exhibited what he spoke. And that was really what had the message hit our hearts, because it wasn't just words hitting our brain. It was a visual. We could see it. It was palpable. We could feel it.
Mm.
It was a whole experience. And he gave us a new experience of life through his integrity. And that was his power, the power of love, the power of living what you speak.
An acharya in the truest sense.
An acharya in the truest sense. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, yes.
I love the
That,
phrase, gave you a new experience of life. um, so, your generation of devotees who have, you've had personal, I mean, to various degrees, personal association with Srila Prabhupada. And so the question now is for our future.
mhm.
Do you believe that it is important for the next generation who are not Prabhupada's disciples to develop a personal relationship with Srila Prabhupada? If yes, why and how can we do that?
um, yes, Prabhupada is the founder acharya of ISKCON. There is no ISKCON without Srila Prabhupada.
Mm.
And so, and yes, because we are all, we are all, what's the word? We are all parts and parcels of Srila Prabhupada's lineage.
Mm.
We're part of his family. Um, Sometimes devotees, I'll just speak for myself. Look at me. Like, I'm so privileged that I was initiated by Srila Prabhupada. Oh, you're so fortunate. You've got these blessings. You're so fortunate. Um, Definitely, I feel fortunate and grateful. However, that fortune doesn't stop. It doesn't stop.
Mm.
That fortune is meant to expand, and it's not like an entitlement kind of a fortune. It's not like an entitlement. The privilege is more like a responsibility.
Mm.
Like, as a disciple of Prabhupada, it's not like, oh, I'm entitled. It's more like I have a responsibility to model and to care for and be personal towards the devotees in the way that Prabhupada was. I have a responsibility to share um, what Prabhupada gave to me and gave to us. And younger devotees, like I said, I had my relationship with Prabhupada through the Bhagavad Gita. I didn't even know he was alive. He could have been some ancient saint for all I really knew. I didn't really understand. And so Prabhupada speaks to all of us, and he he wanted all of us to imbibe the qualities of personalism and love. And so, who better to take shelter of in that regards than the one who came to bring personalism? And yeah, why not have a relationship with your grandfather or your great grandfather or your great great grandfather. We're a part of the family. It's a lineage. And so, why wouldn't you want to take that? And sometimes, it's important to honor our roots, and it's important to understand our roots. If we're just out here picking the fruits off of a tree, but we're not realizing, hey, somebody dug the hole, somebody planted the tree, someone made sure the tree was watered and put a fence around the tree to protect it when it was growing. Someone had the tree pruned so that it would bear fruit. Someone made sure that there was pollination plants so that the fruits could be pollinated. That someone is Prabhupada. He planted a big tree. So we're not here to just pick the fruits. We're here to honor the person who took the time to dig that hole and plant that tree and care for that tree so that we and the future generations can relish now the fruits of all of his efforts and love, especially his love. Yeah.
Wow, that's a beautiful imagery. So if we're receiving the fruit from ISKCON, we should remember that that fruit is basically personalism, relating to the person Sri Krishna, which means relating to Srila Prabhupada, who's the person who's brought forth ISKCON for us. Yeah.
Yes.
So they go
Yes.
hand in hand.
They do go hand in hand. How can you not have a relationship with Prabhupada?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. You're related. I'm sorry. And why not have a relationship? Yeah. And that relationship can be through reading. It can be through, devotees who inspire you the way Prabhupada inspired us. There are many ways to relate to Prabhupada. But having a personal relationship with Prabhupada, it's going to be a personal experience for each devotee. It might not be the same for each devotee. Each devotee can have a different personal relationship with Krishna. There's not only one way to have a personal relationship with Prabhupada or with Krishna, right? How many rasas are there? How many different kind of relationships are there? So many. So each one, we need to develop our personal relationship.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The next question is basically everybody's favorite. What's your favorite memory of Srila Prabhupada?
Yeah. Well, like I said, I gave you my personal memories, which were very small.
Yes.
My favorite memory that I remember this story, and it just really inspires me. And I also have something on my altar. On my altar, I have a saying Prabhupada said, I can never force you, to do anything. So this story is kind of like in that way. There were sannyasis and temple presidents. I don't know if they were GBCs at that time. They were on a morning walk with Prabhupada. And they were kind of complaining about each other. And Prabhupada turned around with his cane and said, I have only come to encourage, and you are simply discouraging. And then he said it again. I have only You are only discouraging one another. I have only come to encourage. And then he swung back around and continued to walk. And then they were saying, I'm sorry, Prabhu, please forgive me, please forgive me. And so to me, that was a huge statement. He didn't say many words, but he really spoke volumes. It's not an easy journey to be a soul entrapped in a human machine. It's not necessarily easy to transform our our consciousness is in our heart. Sorry. Our consciousness is not easy to transform our consciousness from all of our conditioned consciousness to Krishna consciousness. That's not a small feat. And it takes a lifetime, at least one, if not more. And so we need all the encouragement we can get. We need all the encouragement we can get. This material world is a place of mystery. Like, why am I here? And if people come to Krishna consciousness seeking out some not just relief, but some deeper and relevant purpose to their life, how can we encourage that person? According to time, place, and circumstance, what is the appropriate way to encourage a person? We all need encouragement. We all need support. It's not an easy, simple thing. If it was, I would have been a pure devotee a long time ago because I put in a few hours. It's not about the quantity of what we do. It's never about the quantity of hours of service or money put in or results that we produced. It's never about the quantity. It's always about the quality. And you can see that in Prabhupada. He didn't have quantity. He had no money. He didn't have manpower. He didn't have any influence in America. What was it? He had that quality of love. And that quality of love outweighed any quantity of any big leader. It outweighed it, just that quality of love. And Prabhupada even said at one point, better one moon than a million stars, right? A million stars, they sparkle in the sky, but the moon can light up. Sometimes when there's a full moon, I look outside, it's like, is the sun out? What's going on? It's so bright. And then you see this full moon and it like lights up like the sun. Not exactly like the sun, but it lights up the whole area. And a million stars can't do that. So that's why the quality is the most important thing, not the quantity. And it's the quality of our consciousness that we want to work on. And that's something that Prabhupada exemplified in his life, the quality of love.
I love that how you tied your favorite memory with that core quality you spoke about earlier. It's the quality of unmotivated and unending love and compassion.
And that's not it takes a development. It's a developmental process.
Yes.
It's not like, we're just going to like go buy it at the store.
Yeah.
You need to practice and work on it.
And for me, my personal takeaway was you said everyone needs encouragement. So I need that, but I also offer that to others who are similarly on this journey along with me.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the beginning of love. Encouragement. We can practice love in so many small ways, and that helps us to develop the muscles of love.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I think that's a perfect segue into our next one. You are involved with Karuna Care.
Yeah.
Would you like to
Yeah.
speak a little bit about it?
Yeah. Yeah. Karuna Care was started by Ram Baru,
Mm,
Vaishnavi. She's a Prabhupada disciple. And she also came to the conclusion through her many experiences in life that there's so much of a need for emotional awareness and connection inside of ourselves. Again, the quality, not the quantity. And we sometimes miss that point. And she started Karuna Care a number of years ago, maybe 6 years ago or something. And I'm one of the facilitators, and we do different courses on feelings and grief and trauma and addiction and the drama triangle and guardians of innocence and really helping devotees to understand how these things are relevant
mm,
and not only relevant, important in the development of our spiritual maturity. Spiritual maturity involves, being emotionally aware.
mm.
Prabhupada was emotionally aware. He could see when somebody couldn't do something. He didn't hammer it into them. He just, okay, that's not going to work for that person, you know, right?
Yeah, I mean, I see this initiative as an act of encouragement for devotee community.
Well, and it's so needed. I mean, when being in the field so much, we just had a board meeting yesterday, and we were just talking about how great is the need
Mm,
and how there's not really a lot of that kind of support. We
mm,
have the structure, we have the organization, we have the buildings, we have the deities, we have the theory and the books.
mm,
That external structure is there. The internal support systems are what we want to work on now.
mm.
Yeah. How to offer support to devotees. Yeah.
And you've been prolific. I see that you've written 4 books. You have a website too. So many initiatives we just spoke on early on. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. I don't know if I'm prolific or just or if Krishna tricked me into writing books, which he did. He tricked me into writing books. It wasn't like something on my bucket list. However, I did author a book in, it was like around 2011, 2012, called Revealing the Heart, the Practice of Compassion. And it's an introduction to compassionate communication
Mm-hmm.
and how choosing our words
Mm,
helps in our communication and connection with others. And also how practicing compassion to ourselves helps us to relate to others in more compassionate ways also, because we're usually a little bit harsh on ourselves. And so when we can be compassionate to ourselves, we can more easily be compassionate to others. And then I had an idea for a book title, and I thought I was just going to throw together things from workshops I'd done, you know, and then COVID came along in 2020. So I said, okay, let me just download whatever this is out of my head and just get it out of my head so I don't have to keep repeating myself. And so COVID, was a perfect time, 2 years. And I wrote the book called Finding the Gap, Some Truth About the Lies We Tell Ourselves. And the second part is Entering the Gap, More Truth About the Lies We Tell Ourselves. Those two books are actually um, a series. It's really one book. And I was told that it was too long to be one book, and I had to make it 2 books. So the first book is about the mind and the false ego, and I kind of make it more like a picture and divide it into dissect it into different parts, because Otherwise, the mind and the false ego are like just so huge, you don't even know how to actually where to start. And it's too big anyway, so it's too overwhelming, so forget it. And so I break it down and give it different names, and it's a conversation between Jiva, Jago, and Karuna, three devotees. So it's a little interactive. And then the second book, Entering the Gap, More Truth About the Lies We Tell Ourselves. That's about the anartas, which I've listed 12 anartas. I stretched it out into a few more. And I don't call them anartas either, because anartas are kind of big and scary too, and I don't want to have any demons in me. So uh, yeah, let's talk about that in 10 years or so. So I just call them habits. And then, they're habits. We have conditioning. And, what can we do about that? So kind of lightening it up a little bit, because it could be a heavy topic. So that's what those two books are about. And then the What to Do About Sue is a book written by myself and my mother's contributions about when my parents kidnapped me and had me deprogrammed when I was 22. And so it was a book that my mother wanted to write 30 years 30 years ago. And so she kind of asked me to write down things, and she wrote down things. And she kept all of that information that we wrote down, and she never wrote the book, and then she passed away. So it was COVID-19, and I figured, well, I got all the materials. She wanted this done in memory of her. I wrote that book too. So that's like a partial memoir. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I wanted to highlight the fact that you have a website. It's called heartconnection.com.
Yes.
And you
Yeah.
also mentioned that these books are going to be converted to audiobooks and they'll be available on awsound.com.
Awesome.com. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And so devotees could either find those books through the title or through your name, right? Sukhavaha Bauer. Is
Yeah,
that
either
your
Sukhavaha or Susan. I don't know how they're going to have me
okay?
listed, because I just opened the account, and the audiobooks are going to be hopefully just downloaded today, so they
Yeah.
could be available today. And then there there are Kindle versions of my one book, and then the other three books will be downloaded to Kindle hopefully next week. That's what we're aiming for. They're all ready to go. And I do have hard copies of the books at my house. If anybody wants to email me,
Hmm.
uh, there's a form on my website. You can email
Okay.
me, and I could send the books if you want a hard copy. It's just yeah.
Thank you. uh, this 1 hour, I don't even know how the time went by. But yes, we are almost at the top of the hour, and we want to honor your time. Uh, but thank you so much for sharing these golden nuggets. This 1 hour we just spoke about Srila Prabhupada, and it's been most blissful. Very, very grateful to you. Thank you for,
And I
yeah.
just want to say, Srila Prabhupada is the golden nugget, and even his skin color is golden. So he's the golden nugget, and he wants to give us so much, and he still wants to give it. So I just want to say that. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. Srila
Thank you.
Prabhupada ki.
Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you, everyone. Thank you,
Hare
Vaishani.
Krishna.
Vaishana.